All right, so welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin.
I'm Tarsha.
And this is, of course, Conversations with the Crawleys, where we have conversations about faith, family relationships, and recaps, reviews, commentary of some of our favorite TV shows. This one is all about Ready to Love Season 6. Welcome to Potomac, basically.
You said basically.
Basically. All right, so if this is content you enjoy, make sure you're hitting the subscribe button, hit the like, request notifications.
And share.
And of course, as always, we will see you in the comments. All right, so we pick up with this episode with a continuation of, in my opinion, an unnecessary cliffhanger.
You knew AP was going home?
We knew AP was going home almost from the time that she started calling everybody, you remind me of my cousin, you remind me of my brother, you remind me of this.
I'm like, why are you saying this?
And then, yes, the reasons were, you know, of course, there is the drama of it all where Laverne calls him up. Was it Laverne? No, Demetrius calls him because Laverne was absent the entire thing.
Right.
So Demetrius calls him up and he's like, Precious, you too much into the clubs. And she's like, no, she's just a little too thirsty, I think. And then AP, you know, you still deal with the emotions of your husband. I think that's kind of the thing that we were all seeing.
Right, we were saying that, but she felt like she's doing the work and working through it. But at the same time, she doesn't understand that subconsciously, by her making statements that are placing men in spaces, that she's still not at that part. Yeah, maybe you want to casually date because you feel lonely.
Right.
But you're not ready to make emotional attachments to men. So you're keeping them afar.
Yeah.
So I think if she continued to work through that and even see herself, you know, like, would you have done that on a date if you were, say you were dating the person you were married to, you know? So I think it's, and then you are trying to learn how to date again.
Right. That's, yeah. I mean, if you were married for a long period of time. And now you're back out there and I think she's in her mid 40s.
Yeah.
So you don't know how long it's been since she's been dating. So there is that challenge because dating is a whole different ballgame.
It's a new beat. I mean, especially if you only have to be focused on one man again.
Right.
Now you have to figure out, you know, how you rekindle, learn people in this space, right?
Right.
Where people would normally come up to you, and maybe they do occasionally. But my understanding is that dating apps are the way that people meet, or DMing you is the appropriate way.
So we definitely get that it would maybe a challenge for her.
Right. I like you. They just don't come up to you and want to say hi.
Okay. So AP is sent packing, and but the night continues still, right?
Right, like they just finally eating. I'm like, I hope they were snacking in between because I'm like hungry.
Listen, I'm
started like 1.
I'm a smoker, so I do you know, ribs, barbecue, you know, brisket, all that. It was like Eric was doing like a full brisket cook because he was like it was late.
I don't know if, I'm assuming he had help, but they weren't on camera because that was a lot of food. It was a big spread. So, but kudos to him. He got to cook for everybody.
Yeah, so they, you know, start serving plates, and Clifton serves Carmen her plate. And Dakia's like, yeah, I know Carmen was making googly eyes, but he made the shrimp pasta, and I know that I told him I like shrimp pasta. So Dakia's trying to get her, you know, find her.
Clifton made Carmen a plate.
He made Carmen a plate. He took her a plate.
Right, but Carmen waited for Clifton.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
So, okay, interesting, right?
Yeah.
Which is a little cute, you know, like, I'm thinking of you, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Even though, I don't know, did Carmen ask Clifton to make?
I don't know, because
she's a little assertive.
She's not a little assertive. She's very assertive. Carmen is very assertive. But it was just interesting because remember when Clifton first saw Carmen, it seemed like he was put off by the context that she had. But now it's like she's in the running with him, right? So then Laverne is like, hey, let's go back to 8th grade and let's play Truth or Dare.
And they say yes. See, this is the thing. if you're like, oh, but y'all all grown and do it, she can say, I'm not doing that tonight.
Right.
We gonna get messy at the end of the night after we done had all this liquor.
Right.
And food just finally kicking in to cover half of what we had to drink. But they said yes.
They said yes.
And these women were taking theirs like they just like walking off a cliff.
Right.
Like, I was like,
So the one of the first ones we see is addressed to Christina, and it's like, okay, go ahead and I think it was like kiss on the cheek, the man that you're feeling the most.
No, nibble the ear.
Was hers to nibble the ear?
Oh, I thought it was who was first. Joy was first.
No, Tina was first.
Tina was first.
Yep,
okay.
Tina was first. And so she was sitting next to Wiley, and remember, Wiley was the one who met with her on the initial blind date that she joined on, right?
Oh, gotcha. I know.
So she was sitting next to Wiley, and she gets up and makes a beeline towards Paul.
Right.
And Wiley's just sitting there, blank stare.
Like, dang.
Okay.
I gotta get old quick.
Yeah. I don't want to grow up.
Right. He's like, what is going on?
So, and then like the next one was Joy, and it was like, okay, Joy, go ahead and kiss the guy that you are feeling. And she like gets up, does a 40-yard dash to Clifton.
Right. She's like putting her claim on Clifton.
She's like, make no bones about it.
Like, you can make other plates. You can make everybody a plate here. But who's going to get these lips?
But Carmen did have the dagger eyes. She was like, okay.
Carmen had dagger eyes for everyone she's interested in.
Carmen, her eye game is on point.
She's been working on that. She go in the mirror every morning. It's like, I'm going to get the seductive eyes.
Them dagger eyes.
Let me get the dagger eyes.
The sit your behind down eyes. She got, her eye game is on point. Then, Carmen, they asked Carmen, okay, are there guys here that you are genuinely attracted to and interested in, or are you just kind of interested because this is the pick that you have? These are the options that you have. And she's like, no, there's a couple that she's genuinely interested in and attracted to. We know that Clifton, I think, is one.
Right.
Eric is the other one that she has an interest in, and there's another one that we'll talk about a little bit. And then Sabrina is hit with a dare.
And no, she's not hit with it. She takes a dare.
She takes a dare, right? And she's like, okay, they're like, okay, go ahead and nibble on the ear of the person that you are most interested in. And she does she thinks for a little bit. You think the thinking was fake?
Yes. Why? Because Demetrius pulls her to the side on this day. Remember?
He did pull her aside earlier, yes.
He took a little more initiative, and he made his intentions known.
Right. Because, again, he was also the one that was just sitting looking out the side of the bus.
Right. Right. Like, why am I here?
Right.
Because if I ain't the one, But, so she goes over to him and nibbles on
his ear.
On his ear. And
Tori is sitting there with sad puppy eyes like, I thought... Because even some of the people were like, oh, she's about to come to you. Da, da, da.
Right.
So they were pumping up his ego, right?
Right. His ego was all pumped up.
He was like, yeah,
that's right.
She about to nibble on my
ear. Oh, whoa.
Why is she over there?
Right. Who's over there? Right. And so then it was...
Then they put it on Demetrius. And it's like, all right, Demetrius, go ahead and kiss the woman that you feeling.
Right.
Demetrius like, I'm not making any bones about it.
Right.
I'm going right to Sabrina.
Right.
And Tori was like, I'm going to go pack.
Tori's like, I ain't playing this. We ain't playing games here. I'm out.
Yeah. So that ended the night pretty much.
Right.
That we saw for the night at the beach house, whatever it was. So then we have a group date. Joy, Precious, Wiley, Clifton, and Demetrius all go hang out at, I guess they call it like an adult jungle gym. So it's kind of like a ropes course, and like it's interesting, right?
Yeah, they had a lot of stuff to do.
Precious almost immediately corners. First of all, shout out to Precious. She had the Fly Air Maxes. I saw those.
You saw the Air Maxes?
I saw the Air Maxes. And Clifton came with them Jordans out. Okay. Shoe game's on point. But Precious, she pulled basically had Demetrius aside. She didn't necessarily pull him, but
Right.
she had Demetrius aside, and she was doing a lot of, in my opinion, in his opinion, damage control.
Yes and no. I really believe she's there for love, right?
I agree.
And so she wants to start with the person she ended with, having the conversation. So Demetrius didn't have to pull her aside at the pool and say, look,
Right.
hey, baby girl, I'm thinking you might be doing a little too
Tone it
much.
down a little bit. Yeah.
And they have a conversation there. So they're having a grown conversation. So now that she was pulled up, but they kept her, I think she's really trying to take the time, like, look. And I don't know. I'd rather her said at first, I am interested in you, making some intent of why she's making the conversation.
Right.
Because it's like, yeah, everyone has to vote, but at the same time, if you have connections, then those connections will speak for you on your
Right.
behalf if they're strong enough.
If they're strong, right.
So I'm trying to figure out, I was like, well, are you trying to get to know Demetrius? Because if not, just showing a different side of you, yourself, then that should show that it's not about just the party.
Right.
But obviously she makes her case. And he's like, okay, we'll see pretty much.
Right.
But he doesn't seem interested.
Yeah, I don't think he's interested in her. It's I don't know who is interested in her. I know Paul at one point was interested in her. But I don't know really who is
Right.
vested in her.
Right.
So, and then Joy is talking to Wiley. And again, we know that Joy is not locked in, but her primary person is Clifton. That's been since day one. But at least Joy is willing to open up to options.
I don't think so. I think Joy is comfortable around men. She was raised by a father.
Okay.
And so I think Joy's comfortable. She can talk to any man
Okay.
and don't feel like they're coming after her for just sex or whatever because of how she was raised.
Right.
So when you are comfortable around men and you don't have to feel like there has to be an attraction in there, I feel like she could talk to anyone.
Okay.
Now, she wanted to see and try to help pull Wiley out.
Okay. I can get with that.
Because she's like, well, maybe he does like me, but I want to see it. But why would Wiley show his cards if you and Clifton laughed? So I think Wiley was too much in his head. If he was going to be 32, act like you 32 and you got it together and you want to
I think the thing with Wiley is Wiley's way of shooting his shot is not conducive to this environment.
Okay, explain that.
I think because I think the thing that we kind of see is, yes, there's been the age of the question of his age, which
I don't see a problem with
necessarily get it, right? But I do think that he kind of relies on, we had a great conversation, and we don't know what happens after the conversation. We don't know what happens on the phone calls, what have you. But it's just, I get this sense of, I'm relying more on the conversation and maybe not cultivating that to really let a person know this is where I'm at, right? Because, for example, with Demetrius had the conversation with Sabrina. It's like, look, I'm feeling you. Clifton has had the conversations like, look, and Clifton's got a couple of options, but Clifton is making his intentions known. Paul is making his intentions known. I don't know that Wiley is making his intentions known.
And so is that where they're putting the contrast on age? Because, okay, let's be honest. If you're an older man and you're saying, I'm ready to settle down, isn't that a conversation with a younger guy? It's more like, we'll see how it's subliminal. It's like,
we'll see how it goes, right?
I might want to get married. Maybe I just want to be in a committed marriage.
Because this group of guys, in my opinion,
are more mature.
They're more mature. They're
more locked in.
They're more locked in. They're more intentional about what they want.
Right.
And they're not afraid to really push towards it. I think this is the most mature relationship type of guys that we've seen in a while.
For Ready to Love.
On Ready to Love. ever we've seen any group of guys this intentional. So, but she is, because part of watching with her and Wiley, I kind of got the impression also that she was kind of like getting feedback to go back to the table with, because she knows at some point that this was the lady's choice,
true.
right? So it's also like, because there was a couple dates here or a couple of interactions that I felt like were more kind of scouting out and spying and seeing kind of where these guys were, so that they could come back to the table and at least say, well, he wasn't necessarily for me, but this is where they're at. So, and then Sabrina does go on the date with Tori.
Right.
And he was shocked by her interactions with Demetrius.
And I think he's right. He had his head in the sand.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I found the one we're talking. But you're in a group of other people where you're supposed to be deciding on like who's the best fit for you.
Yep.
It's almost like Tori already made his decision. And about moving on, and really focusing on his number one pick,
Right.
Then maybe his number 2 or 3. And so I'm like, dude, you see how many more men here? And she couldn't have been with you at the party all day. So where was she?
Right.
And why you didn't have eyes?
Right.
Because if I'm scouting out 2 men, and if I'm talking to one, I'm just keeping an eye out where my other dude at, who he whispering to,
So let me give you the Bible lesson. All right. So there's a story in the Bible about Gideon. And Gideon is an army leader, and God tells him, take the guys to the brook, let them drink, and watch the ones that pull the water to their mouth and drink while still looking around. Those are the guys you have in your army. The ones that just simply put their head down and are just drinking, those are the ones to dismiss. Tori's issue was that he was just putting his head down, trying to drink solely on Sabrina, and not having his attention spread around to say, okay, I'm gonna sit with her, but when she goes elsewhere, where's she at?
Where's she at?
There's a way to have a conversation, but still be like,
I
over there.
know you.
Okay.
Oh, I see who's catching her attention.
He can have the conversation with Tina over here.
Right.
And then be like, okay, Sabrina over there talking to
Right.
Clifton. Okay.
Right.
And have another conversation. Oh, shoot. There's a way to do it.
There's a way to do
Tori
it.
wasn't doing it.
Tori wasn't doing it. He don't understand. She has multiple men to choose from.
Right.
Hey, granted, you want to think that you the only one. Bless your heart. When she's with you, you are the only one.
And I think also, if we think about it, initially Sabrina was one of the top picks
For every man.
for every one of the guys.
Yeah, several
But
guys.
at the table, we saw that their opinion of her kind of dropped
Right.
some. So I think he's also relying on the fact that he hasn't heard a lot of guys talk about her at the table now.
Right, that's true.
So now he's like, oh, okay, I found my nugget. I found my little one.
Yeah.
And Demetrius is like, I'm moving silence. I ain't gonna say nothing.
Right.
But I'm making this connection over here.
Right. And that's another thing that's different. Everybody ain't shouting out names.
Nope.
Because it can change too.
Yep.
Because something may come out of somebody and you're like, oh, I didn't see that.
Yep.
And so I think he's realizing that now as he starts to, kind of move around and
Because he
and
also
some of the
asked
ladies
her,
ask.
he does what I think could be a mistake. Didn't really see it right now, but he asked her how she's feeling about her number one. Y'all know, if you watch if you watch Ready to Love enough, you know that this conversation of am I your number one can be a killer, right? So she dodges that question and she's basically like, look, I'm just glad we're kind of clearing the air. I like you and I like him. There's things I like about both of you. So let me figure it out. Let's go with this process.
And let's move.
Because it sounded like at one point that he was like, well, I might be done if I'm not your number one.
Right.
I'm not taking second fiddle.
Right.
You're not taking second fiddle.
Not in this process.
Not in this process right now. He might have a slight edge over you.
Right.
But that doesn't completely knock you out.
Right.
So, all right. And then Carmen meets up with Paul. And she says that she wore the outfit to get attention and she got Paul's attention.
Every outfit she wears on this is to get attention.
That's true. That's true.
I'm
But
like,
Paul was like, I'm not going to objectify her. I'm gonna keep my eyes up.
he tried. He did have to get one look. I saw when she first sat down, but he was able to get focused.
Right.
Right. So they have this great conversation. Guess what? He wasn't machine gun question
Right.
Paul.
They had a good banter.
They had a real good banter, and this is what we were talking about. I feel like because the way they cut it, right? We don't know if he had any multiple questions for her, but we could tell he was more relaxed and he was enjoying his time, right? With a little flirting with the pickle.
Yes, he did offer her his pickle.
Yeah.
It was a little awkward.
Because I was like, is she feeling it? Is she not? I was like, I feel like this is Carmen's lane, but I'm not. And,
Right.
But then Paul makes the suggestion, but then he don't follow strong through. Like, if you're going to go this way, go all the way with it. Because she's like, are you going to feed me? Or am I supposed to take it from your plate?
Right.
Leave me if you're going to go through.
Listen, there was enough innuendo in that conversation.
Right.
Well, y'all picked up on it just like we picked
But he
up.
was cracking the window. She's like, are you going to open it and let me
Right.
come in or not?
So they do get into conversations about deal breakers. And I think that they are, as far as how they approach life, they seem to be very well matched because they're both kind of like, look,
Right.
we want someone that's always growing, that's not complacent,
Right.
that is going to pursue
Right.
what they want out of life. So
Right. And she owns her own business.
Yes.
You know, so especially when you're talking about being in like the entertainment industry, I think she does some type of marketing or
I can't remember, yeah.
PR.
Brand management or something. I
Right.
can't remember.
Right. So she has to be always going on the go to get what she needs to make sure her business continues to thrive.
Yes.
And with him being that type of person, they might can drive each other.
Yep.
So.
And he talks about her stare because she, again, Carmen's eye game is on point. Carmen has this way of looking where you're like, either you feel like king of the world because she's staring at you with her eyes.
Like she's going to eat you whole.
Yes. So he talks about the stare because
he's like, I'm about to give up everything. I was like, I can't look at her because if I do, I'm not going to have a house. I'm not going to have a car. I guess that's how men interpret like, oh, you want me. I'm important. I'm special to you. So
yeah. All right. So then Tina.
hold on to it. Hold on to your stuff, Paul.
Yeah, Paul. You know. Make sure your passwords are on point and make sure everything's secure. Just carry the important car, your driver's license.
You talking about Bible stories, dude? You talking about Goliath? You talking about Delilah?
Oh yeah, listen. Make sure he bald, so
he bald, all right.
You got to worry about the hair being cut.
Oh my god.
But then Tina and Donovan are on a date,
right?
And we know from the beach house that Tina is not feeling Wiley. She's feeling Paul. She kind of goes for the older guys, right? Even though her and Wiley are about the same age.
Right.
She's a couple years older. She's feeling the older guys.
Right.
And they have a bond. They start to bond over the kids. Right. They both have kids. Children. And kind of there's a little spark there. Mm-hmm. We don't know enough about them. They're the two newest on the block. So
and I guess that's why it's important for them to be able to connect as well.
Right.
Because they're at the same level, I guess you could say, in a sense, about trying to figure everything out, trying to get connections and see how they're gonna, be able to continue on to see if they can connect with someone.
Absolutely. And then Ace, Tina, Dakia, Laverne, Paul, and Tori go on a date. And they're out there. Tina connects with Paul. Says it feels very natural.
Right. They go to the bar and they talk, And
there's a vibe that's happening there.
Right. She says she knows there's a sexual connection as well. So it's like, hey.
And then Laverne is booed up with his Michelle Obama, Jill Scott, Oprah, and Beyonce.
Hey.
AKA Ace.
Right. I mean, and he's touchy, right?
Yep.
And he tells her that he's feeling her and everything. And at first I was like telling you, I was like, I don't know. He just comes off a little like he's trying to make sure his spot's secure tonight. before deliberations.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't want to say it didn't sound genuine, but he has been talking about her a lot.
Right.
But it just, to me, it just came off just a tad bit.
So do you think he's really feeling her, or is she the one that is listening to him most and has a connection?
Even the way she responded to what he said.
Yeah.
She was like, really? You know, like, she didn't seem confident.
Right.
In what he was saying, like, oh, you know, I really appreciate that we've talked. It wasn't like that. So I don't know. Mm-hmm. I think that's why we're going to see who's the last two at the end.
Right.
Because right now, everybody's questioning him and how he moves.
Right.
So,
because what we've seen from Laverne so far appears to be that he is more, I'm gonna let everything come to me. Mm-hmm. And with this group of guys, there's, you know, it's not like you're the 10 rocking with a bunch of 4s. Right. So there is this, because even the ladies have to kind of position themselves to say, okay, I'm going to put myself out there. Right. There's some baddies on both sides, right? There's some very attractive women, and none of them have the luxury of being able to just sit back and let everything come to them. Right. And Laverne is taking the approach that I'm just kind of going to let everything come to me, and that's what the ladies, I think, are picking up on. Right. Is that he's kind of posting up like they're all supposed to just flock to him. Right.
That's why he fell asleep in that lounge chair, because nobody was flocking to him.
Yeah.
Because we have to realize, especially when you were in a previous environment like bodybuilding, mm-hmm. that, you know, people can body worship.
Yep.
And so if you're used to people, you know, on you because of your body, you're putting too much security in your body. But if your mind ain't right, mm-hmm. and you have nothing to offer, you become very less attractive. Right. As the more I get to know you.
Right. So then Dakia is talking with Tori. Mm-hmm. Now, she's not an option for him, but this is where I think was kind of the reconnaissance mission that she was on, where she was asking, okay, well, how do you feel about Sabrina? What's going on with you and Sabrina? Because I think everybody saw the shock on his face. And he's like, he just feels he needs to step back and refocus and maybe open himself up to other women, other options. He better move quickly, because there's a lot of.
Because I'm like, who's his number 2?
Exactly, that's the question. I think would what's her name? Would Ace maybe be his number 2?
Oh yeah.
Because she does mention him, so Ace would probably be his number 2. So we'll see. But then Tina and Laverne talk.
You thought those cupcakes were going to work?
Yeah, those cupcakes did not work the way you thought they was going to work, bro. But Tina and Laverne talk, and Tina at first is like, you know, he was
he's an attractive man, right?
She wanted to get to know him, what have you. But they got into a lot of small talk. She's like, it was a lot of small talk.
And he said he was from the South. And if he mentions Gary, Indiana.
So let me just say this. I'm from Chicago, born and raised in Chicago, South Side Chicago. All right. About what, maybe an hour or so away from Gary, Indiana. So I know Gary, Indiana. First of all, Gary, Indiana is not the South. When we talk about the South, we're talking Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, not Indiana. Indiana's country, but it's not the South. And the way he talks about Michael Jackson, it's like that's his claim to fame. It's almost as if the Visitors Bureau of Gary, Indiana is paying Laverne for every time he mentions it. But I know Gary, Indiana don't have that type of money.
Well, and I get it if he's trying to make like some connection to where he lives. But it's just like, I think it's just, again, when you're in this setting and you get to see people multiple times, you know what they start with.
Right.
Their go-tos.
Right.
And this is his go-to. And it's just like, you can save the Mac. Because if someone doesn't mention it, I'll just keep moving. Oh, I was born in Gary, Indiana, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
You know. And then if they want to go, Let them go. Oh, Michael Jackson.
Because to me, that's not the flex you want.
No.
That's not the flex you think it is.
No.
You know,
Especially for someone like, oh, well, she's in her 30s.
she's in with
So she would have been like,
so
she would have been in elementary school, maybe, when Michael Jackson was this.
so I mean, so us, Generation X, Michael Jackson, having that, you know, the catalog and everything that he had, yeah, we're more familiar with it. But, and y'all let us know. And I think, you know, when we talked about this before, some of y'all were like, yeah, it's, you know, I wouldn't know where he was from. So,
Everybody
those of
knows
you that
that.
are maybe 20, 30 years younger than us,
Right.
y'all will be looking like, you know, I don't expect you to know where Michael Jackson was born and
Right.
raised.
Right.
I get that. So that's why I'm like, it's not the flex you think it is. It's not the
Right.
thing that you think that is like, oh, wow, did you,
Tell me
how,
more.
how close did you live to where he,
Right. And he'd be like, nah, never. And so she was getting like, what?
yeah.
Huh?
So she went from, oh, he, to,
To,
nah,
nah,
he ain't my
never mind.
type. Mm-mm.
Never
Nah, let
mind.
me stick where I'm sticking. So then the ladies' lounge pops off. Tommy brings the ladies in and just starts going through. All right, who you feeling? Where
And-
we at?
And so they used the truth and dare
Yes.
to reveal where they were.
And Tommy's like, oh, y'all, okay, that's
y'all
what y'all
playing
doing.
game. Okay.
So listen, now we might see Truth or Dare as a part of the future future seasons of Ready to Love. It does reveal a lot. I don't
does.
necessarily like it. Even the ladies were like, it was kind of messy.
But she participated.
True.
My thing is this: you don't have to participate in what's messy.
Very true.
And so I would have watched. I was like, y'all go right ahead. Do not include me. I'm not sharing mine.
So we start to see or hear who the ladies are feeling. So Tina's like, Paul and Donovan are her top. Okay. Carmen says Eric and Paul are her top. So Clifton's not in there necessarily because of the connection that Joy has with him.
Right.
The key is like Paul and Eric. Listen, can we just say shout out to Paul?
Made that transition quick.
Y'all remember Paul was at the bottom at the beginning, and we even gave him grief because of his PO. You know, I'm PO. I'm post office because I always deliver. We gave him grief, but Paul has turned it around. Paul, turn it around. Listen,
He's making moves.
Paul
He know
is
how to make deals under the
Paul's
table.
name is on a lot of ladies' lips,
They are.
and his pickle too. All right.
Oh.
So, but the key is feeling Paul and Eric. Ace is feeling Laverne and Tori. Precious is feeling Paul and Donovan as well. And then Sabrina, of course, Tori and Clifton
Right.
are kind of hers.
Sabrina? No.
Yeah, Sabrina. I'm not sorry. Sabrina's feeling Tori and Demetrius.
Demetrius.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And we all know that Joy is feeling Clifton.
Right.
All right. But then who they're not feeling. So Ace is just, she's not feeling Clifton. She says I think it was her that said, gives homey vibes.
Yeah.
Carmen's not feeling Clifton, and that has, I think, a lot more to do with the fact of his connection with Joy.
Right.
Tina's not feeling Wiley. Precious is not feeling Wiley or Laverne. The Key is not feeling Wiley. And Tina is not feeling Laverne. She's like, nothing there.
Right.
There was nothing there for her to go on.
Right.
So by now we're sitting there, we're watching, we're like, okay, we know
Wiley.
bottom two is Wiley and Laverne. And so Wiley meets up with Dakia, and she is having the conversation almost like a big sister in some respects.
I'm telling you, everyone kind of like
Everybody little brother him.
Right.
But, she asked the question that I think we kind of touched on was, are you being intentional? Is he
Right.
being intentional with his desires, right? Or is he giving everyone friends vibes? Because that's what the ladies are picking up on.
Because when you're not assertive
Right.
and really intentional, right? That puts you in the thing like, oh, he just wants to be friends.
Right.
Because if you're not telling me more than that, I'm not going to assume more than that.
Right.
So I guess that's why they can say he's giving friend vibes.
And I think, again, it goes also to the group of guys that he's in quote unquote competition with.
Right.
I think you have a lot of guys who are very secure in what they want, and they're very intentional in what they want, and they're very mature in how they're approaching things.
Right.
So there is, for some of the ladies, there's probably that, well, I see how this person moves over here, but I'm seeing how you move. I'm going to go with where I may feel more secure and may feel that maybe I'm going to have a better opportunity. So, basically, Nakia was like, yeah, you're just not ready for anybody there.
Right.
You are ready for love, but what your options here aren't the ones that you're ready for.
Try everyone younger than 30.
Right.
It's like, what?
But Laverne meets up with Precious, right? And Precious calls him out on the truth or dare. And she says this. She says, you step up when you want to, and you step back when you don't. And he basically is like, I don't trust y'all.
When I heard that, I was like, okay, well, which woman hurt you?
Right.
Because he was real like, I don't trust y'all. And when you gain my trust, like, whoa, slow down. Because Pressure was like, oh, so it's on? Let me put my gloves on. Because we can talk about this and see if we can get you straightened out.
Right. Because there was moments there where it almost felt like Pressure was about to be like, you know what? Bump it. You ain't ready to love either.
Right. Like, I'm about to make a decision for all the ladies.
Listen. So, but he did at least like, okay, you are giving facts. I have to own that. And so he's still ready to love. So
for this week.
Right? But I don't know just how things are flowing. So my two that are probably going to be, as far as the guys next on the chopping block, is probably Laverne and Tori. I think those are two that are not making as many solid connections.
Right.
And will probably be soon gone if things don't shift.
Right.
But then on the lady side, because next week is a ladies elimination, I think Precious might be gone. That's my thoughts. Because
is the women's. Oh yeah, because it's the men's turn.
Yeah, the men. We had a man dismissed today, so next week will be the women. And I think Precious, unless there's some super
Ace, because Ace only has one connection, right?
She has Laverne, and Tori may be using her as his second option. It's possible, right? But I don't think Precious has enough connections at this point. That's just my thoughts.
Well, we don't know who Paul's first choice is, because he was leaning to Sabrina.
But Paul got options.
Paul got options.
Paul, you got options, bro.
So
you have some nice options. So Paul ain't going nowhere anytime soon unless he does something completely ridiculous. All right, so that's it for this review. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know what we might have missed. Hit us up in the comments. Again, hit that subscribe, like, request notifications, and share. And of course, we will always see you next time. Have a great one. Be blessed.
Peace.